This episode of the Long Run Podcast is sponsored by Skechers.
Good evening, party people. We are back for this week's episode of the Long Run Show and podcast, brought to you by the FORDY Runners running community. And of course, have to give a big shout out to our sponsors at Skechers. So make sure you head to skechers.co.uk, check out their new kicks, their new snicks, all of your latest gear. You can be found there, as you can see, repping by the lovely 40 Runs and Hayden. Welcome, guys. Just a quick note.
Yeah.
This time next week, because we are in the future, this time next week, we would know if we have got a ballot place in the London Marathon.
Oh, imagine. So we're going to be helping you tonight on this pre-recorded show. We're going to help you if you get one, if you're one of the lucky few. If you don't get one, what to do. And we might be talking about cheeseburgers again. But before we do that, the reason we're pre-recording this, people, is because I'm at Guns N' Roses tonight in Hyde Park. And I didn't realise, well, firstly, Toe, we need to come on to it. But I didn't realise, Toe's got no idea who Guns N' Roses, genuine, he's got no idea who Guns N' Roses are, have you, Toe? Genuine.
I might know who they are, but I've got no idea who's in the back.
Well, I got a picture, right? So it's not going to help. But if you're watching this, I've got a picture now. I've just downloaded it. I'm going to put it up so Tobe sees who Guns N' Roses are, because we've named Duff. And so look, Tobe, look. There. That's who Guns N' Roses are, okay? You've got
I recognise one of them.
The lead singer, looks a little bit like Hayden. And then you've got Slash, who's on guitar, and then you can't see, but like Dizzy's behind him on the keyboards, and you've got Duff on the bass, right? So you've got the geezer who looks a bit like Hayden, and then you've got Slash. Now, Toe, you probably look more like Slash than Hayden, because I'm just looking at the double chin on this picture. So
I was just looking at the lighting. The lighting was quite good, wasn't it?
Oh, you're such a weirdo. But you genuinely, he said, honestly, didn't he, guys? He said, who Guns N' Roses probably just came on, hit record. Did you not? Or did you?
Well, I didn't know who the names are you've been putting up. I don't know who's in Guns. I've heard of Guns N' Roses. I don't know who's in Guns N' Roses.
I mean, I'm with Toby there. I did have to just Google. My last search is Dizzy Guns N' Roses. And I mean, yeah, the resemblance is immaculate. So,
well, I haven't actually based it on, because really, as I said to you, Slash looks more like Toby in that picture. So I've not based it on anything other than I just gave you. So again, if you're a podcast, sorry, apologies. I've got my name as Axl Rose. We've got Slash, Hayden, Duff up in the corner, Toe, and then Dizzy on the keyboards. Dizilla. So anyway, so it's a bit of a Guns N' Roses theme show tonight, because I'm there, probably having a panic attack about the amount of people near me. I don't like crowds at all, but my brother's taking me to this concert, so fingers crossed it ain't peeing down the rain. Anyway, so yes, do it. So I think, did we? Who hands up if you went in for the London Marathon? Well, hands up. That's not good on an audio-based thing, is it? So if you're running along, don't put your hand up if you went in for the ballot. So did we all go in for the ballot, or did you? Yeah. All went in for the ballot.
Yeah.
We're lucky. Club members, and the club ballot is usually traditionally, so let's say you're in 40 Runs running club, or you're in another club, they traditionally come out towards like October, November time is when I get the right up about this, because that is an assumption that somebody is doing some form of running already, and I think that's a bit annoying, because some people go in for it because maybe they've joined a running club and they just don't catch the 5K or whatever, and that assumes that they're already at a distance. That really annoys me a bit. But anyway, those club ballots tend to be later in the year, but the ballot from London Marathon events is, well, in fairness to them, we'll take one, give the other sort of thing. They pulled it forward, haven't they, this year? Because it was usually about October time, wasn't it?
I really like the fact that it's early on, which we can go into, but I do really like that it's a lot earlier on this year. I'm a firm believer of it.
Why do you like it?
I think personally, going from my first ever marathon being London, I'm fine, and obviously being quite late to know your position, because I had a club place from when I first did it, which was even late then. But I feel if it's your first marathon, and you think you might not even get a place. So from the minute you get that place, you then have to start thinking about your training. Do you want to coach? Do you want to follow a training plan? What happens in your life leading up to that moment? Or do you want to maybe start a little bit earlier? So for me, because I knew from that point, if you're starting earlier, you've got a longer chance to just find your feet, know that it's going to happen, maybe start dabbling into maybe joining a club or ticking off some small miles early, just getting a feel for running, because you might have never ran before. So I think starting now, July, you've got the rest of the summer to maybe go and join a few park runs, or go out and try and trial a few races, or join a few running clubs and things like that. Just get on top of that, join some Facebook groups, join some tips and tricks. And then when you go into that plan, when you have got obviously like the sort of 3 month, or if you're doing a little bit longer, you've got time to really get your head around the fact that you're going to be tackling a plan, which I quite like. So I think the fact that they've done it early is good.
I haven't commented because no, I haven't, because they've done it early. Why haven't they done this for the last 15 years? We all know
you can't do anything about that, Hayden. It's...
No, I know, but it's frustrating that the reason they've done it now is for commercial reasons, and it's for the fact that we all know they've taken over Brighton Marathon. So if you don't get in for London Marathon, they're going to push you into Brighton, rather than leaving it till October, November, and people might have other ideas and might not want to go into Brighton. That's the reason they've done it. And if it's not the reason, I'd like to know why they haven't done it for the last 15 years. It's just a little bit frustrating. But as you say, it's good all round, because people get a long time now to start considering loads of options. So from the general public's point of view, fantastic. I just think it should have been done 15 years ago. That's all.
Well, yeah.
I agree. I do. And I think you mentioned Hayden, last week, maybe, that you did touch on the fact that also another thing is, just, I don't want to go too sort of political now, but just talking about the fact that obviously for paying up front as well, I think that might be something to come a little bit sooner down the line. But the reaction I'm hoping, which will be positive from a lot of people, of it being this early on, is also having people potentially pay there and then when you get that place. I think it'd be quite key, because I know, Hayden, you mentioned, I think last week, that it's a case of you get those people that will just be sort of gorgeous Friday evening, like it is this evening, going out thinking, oh, I'm just going to enter. It's free to enter. If I don't get it, I don't get it. If I do, I do. Probably won't do it. I'd love to know the numbers of people that have not gone through with the marathon just from the off chance of thinking, oh, I've just got in, I'm not going to do it, or can't fall through with the training, when there's people out there, which I think all of us, for example, we had to raise our hands to think if we entered the ballot. It's crazy. Like, we really want to do one of the best marathons in the world. Like, I don't want to feel disheartening to others, but I think a lot of people feel the same, in that sense of, I don't want to be against somebody that's got no intention of running this marathon. So I think it's one of those things, we tackle it from sort of all angles there.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I've always been an advocate of the idea of paying for something, not paying for up front, but at least securing deposit. It just shows a bit of commitment. It's just a no-brainer for me to say all the other big, not all actually, I think 4 out of the other 6 make sure you have their card details or whatever. So the minute you get accepted, they take the money straight out. I think that's a good thing. The only thing I would say is this time, because they've got loads of time, maybe they are going to give people a couple of weeks sort of window to get your money paid. And if you don't, maybe they could have a kind of like second ballot.
They've already got a second ballot, haven't they? Because when you enter, you choose, don't you?
But to be in that second ballot, you've got to have agreed to leave your money in from the first day. It's
second stage sort of thing, just to be like, are you 100% sure that this is the route and you're ready for it? Because anyone can enter a ballot. I think, obviously, especially with half marathons at landmarks, you can just literally put anything in. I think with Boston, they take the money. It was like 250, 60 pounds they take from your account and they have it in hold. And I think you mentioned last week, 2 weeks ago now, that I kind of didn't know, but I noticed from it being withdrawn from my bank account. So it's kind of already on hold. So it's not your money. You're just waiting for it to be released, which I think is great. Whereas a lot of the half marathons, landmarks, you can just enter a ballot, hope that you get in, marathon, hope that you get in, and you just automatically in. It's mad. We started real controversial.
No, but I like it. I like it. Actually being very quiet.
I like it, and I'm trying to be. I'm not trying to be diplomatic because I'm never diplomatic. But I think there's two clear sides to the argument. Yeah, there's the commercial thing, which you're talking about Brighton, and obviously they're doing that. And I'd be interested to know. We'll come around again. I think we said this the other week. Who would want to see Brighton? I don't think if you had a choice, you would choose London over Brighton probably every time. And that's not being disrespectful to Brighton Marathon, but you would because it's a major and everything that goes on around it's the capital. But I think there's a couple of things that really. I get your irritation, the fact that they've done this now and why haven't they done it in the past? Okay. I also have irritation the fact that they put a post out and said, "We've done the ballot. Now you've got to wait 2 weeks."
Yes.
I mean, what's the point of that? It's just the most pointless bit of marketing. All they do, right, these marketing departments is they have, you have your runway of stuff posted you're going to put out, right? And you're going to build that excitement, blah, blah, blah. It was the most pointless post I've ever seen in my life in terms of running. We've done a ballot. Way. You've got to wait 2 weeks. Well, thanks very much. I mean, it can't be that hard, can it? Right? We know that there's races and events out there, okay, that deal on a smaller scale of entries, let's say, on the London Marathon, but they are able to get it done quite quickly. Okay. I think there must be technology out there now that can just sort of whittle this down. I don't know what. I'd be interested to know, right? Really interested to know, actually, what method or technology they use to pick the people. I don't think is that disclosed anywhere? Because I would very much like to know that in terms of whether it's AI, whether it's a random generator, or whether there's a number cruncher, or whether there's like a machine. I think London Marathon events should come out and tell everyone what that is, because I think that'd be pretty cool for us all to understand why it takes so long. Or maybe they're not doing that because they're doing it because it's purely for marketing purposes. I don't know. I'm not putting any dispersions out there in terms of either way. I'd just be interested to know. I'm genuinely, as a bit of a geek, would like to know the system that they use, because it must be a tough order, right? I've got to give them some credit to, let's say how many people this year applied. It was a stupid amount of people.
Yes.
Yeah, it was the highest number ever. So to be able to punch all those numbers out, it's very difficult. So that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to, support them. But I would be very interested to know in terms of how do they do that? Is there a person in the office who's got like the bingo ball like Mel does and pulling them out, and that's why it takes so long? Or is there?
Can I just throw something in with that? Because you're right on point with that. The one thing is, fine, yeah, let's give them credit for that. What do the organisers of the Great North Run do then? Considering more people run the Great North Run than London Marathon, do you see all this fluff, this finale around it? No.
Yeah, but how many apply for the Great North Run versus the London Marathon?
Yeah, good shout. Fair point.
And also, this is not taking anything great away from the Great North, because I absolutely love that event. But do they get as many international? I don't know whether they go in the ballot or what, but do you know what I mean? You've got all those different elements to the whole thing, and they can't just release like ballot and then do like international bit. There's a lot that goes into it, right? And again, I'm not, either way on this. I just think the most pointless thing I've seen this year was we've done a ballot. You've got to now wait 2 weeks. It was the most pointless bit of social media posting that I've ever seen in my life.
Aidan, you could have done a better job on the old social with that one.
Yeah, I just think it's a Mickey take, really. You're just taking the Mickey out of people. You've already got them irritated on certain aspects of this race anyway, and how long things take and all this sort of stuff, right? And the anxiety around it, because realistically, you're not in the ballot, right? You're not got a place in the ballot, right? 4% chance, right? But there's a lot of people worrying about it and spending time thinking about it, which there's absolutely no point. So I just think by putting that post out, all they did was, get themselves on everybody's Instagram feeds and Facebook posts and that. And that's all it was, and it was just pure marketing.
I think the other thing though that they actually put earlier when you signed up, I think it was they put a post out going, well, they put the thing out saying you all know by the end of June. And so what they're saying now is we've actually done the ballot, but we're not actually going to tell you till July now.
Yeah. Also, I think as well I think they're a little bit not nervous, but when you look at the UK and you look at the marathons, there's loads of marathons in the UK. But out of all of them, Manchester is really building traction year after year after year, I find. And a lot of people have gone into Manchester already and they want to do Manchester. So I think putting that post out as well is basically telling people to say, look, this is happening, is coming in next week. The sooner they can sort of like tell people that when the date is, it's almost like keeping people away from Manchester, which I really think they want to do, because you've got to remember, if people don't get me wrong, London trumps Manchester all the time. But if people don't get into London, now I feel like there's that fight of getting out the marathon organisers. You've got like, I don't know, 100,000 people in the UK, half of them want to get Manchester, half want Brighton. And they're fighting for their places. So they want to keep people away from Manchester. In my opinion, London Marathon want people to go down to Brighton. So I think they're keeping you saying like results are out next week. You're right. Pointless poster. Didn't need to do it. They could have just revealed the results next week. But I think they're trying to tell people, hold on, don't book Manchester yet. Just wait for these results to come out. I really do. I think they're fearing Manchester a bit.
I don't know. It all drives me up the wall, to be honest with you. But again, there's so many things to worry about out in the world. Let's not worry about it. But okay, right. So let's go. Let's move off of that, because all we're doing is winding ourselves up. So let's say, right, that you... Okay, let's deal with the people, because it's the minority who actually do get a place, right? So you're one of those really, really dead lucky people that actually going to get a place. What do you do, Hayden?
You go out and get absolutely hammered. Celebrate. I don't know. The chances are, you are talking here, if this is something you really, really want to do to get this place, this is massive. Absolutely massive. And I don't think it actually will hit you until that day you actually get it. I've never got in the ballot. I've always done it for a charity place. But even the charity places now, they almost like, they don't vet you, but you apply for the charity. Then when they come back to you and say, we'd love you to run for our charity, that feeling there, that is really, really, really powerful. And that makes you feel all funny, let alone getting a ballot place. That is just, you're winning something. So first thing you're going to do is just, celebrate. Absolutely. But then I think it was Ben. Ben was on last week. So he got a ballot place last year. And he spoke to his mum and he told his mum, I think his mum straight away, her first reaction was, well, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. It's like, you've got to be crazy. Whether you want to do it or not at the moment, that's it now. You're committed. You're in. Let's get this done. So you do. We're a long way away. What are we, 9 months away?
Yeah.
If you're looking at a 16-week plan, even if you go for a 20-week plan, 5 months, you still got another 4 months.
Okay, so what do you do between now and then?
Keep yourself occupied. Keep yourself fit. You've got to start thinking about long-term. I think you've said about it before. So you're quite a way out from New York still, but you started your training plan. There is this pre-base and this pre-workout where if you go start that 16-week plan from a good level of fitness, and it's not about getting a time or anything, it's about completing the race and completing it well and feeling good about it. So if you go into that 16-week plan feeling fit, feeling confident, and you've got all this stuff behind you, you can just crack on that 16-week plan. So you need to be thinking how you're going to do that. And the other thing as well, a lot of people are booking races maybe 4 or 5 months in advance at the moment. You're looking at Big Half, Great North, maybe even thinking about Chicago and New York. You might now start thinking about your plans and changing that now, because London might be your priority. But for me, that's still a long, long way out. But again, same thing. You might be thinking next January, February, doing certain races. And now you start planning that now. You've got to get your schedule, your calendar out and start thinking about what to do around these times. There's big events coming. You might be getting married next year. You might be planning having kids next year. There's so much and so many different things to think about, because believe me, whether you know it or not, this thing, especially if it's your first time, it's going to take over your life for the next 8 or 9 months. It's going to constantly, whatever you do, be at the back of your mind. Even if you go for a coffee and you sit down and relax with a friend, you'll look around, you'll see someone with some trainers on, or you'll see like someone with a Garmin on. You'll be thinking, I wonder what pace they're doing. You'll be thinking about this non-stop for ages.
Good point. It's a good point. I think, it's a really good point, actually. You will be, it doesn't matter, it's don't have to start training till January. You're constantly going to be thinking about it. I think you made some good points about getting yourself up and running, let's say. So I think about sort of building a little bit of a base, building some road base. You might already be a runner, right? So that's fine. But start thinking about how you're going to gently climb up to those sort of distances and thinking of that sort of stuff. That's a good shout as well. I think there's a lot to unbox from that. I think the other thing is as well, again, we're dealing with people who are the lucky minority, okay? I think you go and get yourself your plan or whatever, where you get that from London Marathon events, or you get one written by, even someone like me, a coach or whatever. But yeah, you somehow get yourself set for at what point you, like I have said, right, this is whatever it was, June or whatever, is when my journey is going to start. I think that's the key. If you get that place, I think we now look at the poor sods, which basically that's going to be us four, who have not got into the ballot, right? I mean, if you don't get into the ballot, Jatila, what are you going to do?
If I didn't get into the ballot, I would probably look for a similar race, like maybe even if it's a half marathon or even if it was a marathon race, but around the same time. Doesn't have to be that event, but you've already kind of had it in your head now that you've kind of, if I do get in, I'm going to start a training program, I'm going to do this, that at the same time. You're not doing it, it's fine. If the virtual's not for you, which I mean, for me, it's definitely
Don't do
not.
the virtual.
I would never, ever do the virtual. It's just not going to happen. But I would still give myself a goal at that same time of the year. If you're thinking April next year, there's so much going on. And I mean, it's amazing. Like there's so much going on, from local events to bigger events, or events that you can literally sign yourself straight into, pay the money, done. You don't even need to worry about this ballot. Like you're straight in, you've got the money, you know what you can start from. Like don't give up on the fact that you haven't had a ballot spot, because I know that there's people out there that are very sort of avid runners that have been running for 30, 40 years, and some of them have never ran London Marathon because they haven't gotten through the ballot, but they're still very, very sort of dedicated runners to their club or to this, that, the other. I would definitely say keep yourself going. You had the sort of the thought to go ahead and do the marathon. What means you can't still follow a plan and go and give yourself a goal, and then maybe enter a marathon maybe the following year or that year where you pay, for example, Manchester. Throw yourself straight into Manchester and go for it. Like I don't think just because you've got that, yeah, you have a bit of downtime, you'll think, oh gosh, didn't get into the ballot. Oh, like just gonna now just be a bum. Still go out there, still go out and have a goal. It doesn't have to be the marathon distance.
That's a good point.
Like it doesn't.
That's a really good point.
And
yeah, the marathon's not the be all and end all, people.
It's not.
That's the
It's
thing.
not. And it's like, still go to the London Marathon, cheer. I had the most incredible time going to support and doing all of that.
God,
like,
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I had done a marathon the week before, which was great, but still going out to go and support people and enjoy and just go and soak up the atmosphere. It's probably one of the best days of the year for me. But knowing that you're still training for something and you're not just on them sidelines thinking, oh, that could have been me. So yeah, I would say definitely get something in.
Yeah, it's so valid. You don't look right. The London Marathon for many people is like a dream, okay? But it's not the be all and end all. And I'm telling you now, the chances are on whatever it is, July the 6th or 7th, whatever date that the marketing department's come up with, because that's probably a low point on the calendar. Again, that's the other reason they picked the date. It's got nothing to do with how long. It's because they're timing it out, right? So that's just marketing. But I'm just telling you now, be prepared to be disappointed, okay? And have a plan of what you're going to do when you don't get a place. Yeah. So be thinking already, okay, so next year, actually, I don't necessarily want to do a marathon. I want to have a go at a half marathon. I want to try an ultra. I want to try triathlon, whatever. So have something as a backup. So if London doesn't come off, because it probably won't, then you don't sit there in a pool of despair. You go, actually, right, okay, so I'm not doing that. I'm going to go now and do the London Triathlon, bosh, or I'm going to, run the wall or whatever, something, mad like that. So you get out immediately, and you're long gone, and you're forgotten about it. I do want to give a quick shout out to the charities. I think it's really important that we highlight the fact that there's a lot of charity places out there. Which I know how hard it is to raise, because all my London Marathon places have come through charity. So I know how hard it is to raise. I appreciate how hard it is to fundraise. And especially right now with what's going on in the world, it's going to be even harder to fundraise, okay? But that said, those charities do need our help. So if there is a charity that you can support, then, consider it. But just, again, caveat to that, it does take its toll on you, the fundraising. So just, being completely eyes open, someone who's, all my places have come through charity. I want to be absolutely clear. It's tough to fundraise. It really is. You've got to be creative. It's not so bad if it's your first one. you'll find people will support you on that. But if you're doing your second, maybe third, sixth, you got to bear that in mind. But there's going to be charities out there going to need our help. Okay, so just as there is that route, like as we said, there's the club route as well. So if you're part of the 40 Rounds running community, running club, as an England Athletics club, we will be giving away, as long as they haven't changed the rules, won't put it past them, but we'll be balloting off 4 places for the London Marathon. You've got better chance in our club ballot than you do in the real ballot. I think we worked it out. But yeah, so that's another route. But I don't know when I'm speaking well out of turn here. I don't know because I don't really have anything to do with the club really in general, other than just turning up and just cocking about. In terms of how if there's a cut off or anything, I don't know whether the clubs have a cut off that you have to be a member by a certain period of time to be able to qualify. I don't know what that is and if that exists or not. I've got no idea. But my point is, check with your local club if there's a point in which you need to renew or join or do something if you want to go down that route. You obviously got the good for age thing, which I think you would have had to run last year, Hayden.
I think the qualifying time, run out. Yeah, probably is. I think it ended December.
Yeah. So again, I don't know whether that's a route in for you or not. I mean, we had Andy Forrester Dean on here, and he's run qualifying times and stuff like that. So again, that's another potential route. But my advice really is to focus on something else. I think. What about you, Tobe? I mean, look, Tobe's a bit different. I know he's got that event we're not allowed to talk about in October. Tobe, let's not say anything.
Can't talk about it.
What?
Can't talk about it.
No, I'm not allowed to talk about it. But I mean, there's no point asking you what are you going to do if you don't get a place, because you'll go, I don't know. But what advice would you give to people for where you've not got a place in London through the ballot? I'm trying to do this in a way that you may actually add some value to our audience for a change.
Add value. Can we talk about food?
No, Tom.
Oh, okay.
We spent too long last week, or whatever it was. Cheeseburgers.
Yeah, well, you went off on a tangent, really. I mean, my view is that, as you said, I haven't got one, so I'm not planning on running London in April. I mean, I think it's the safe option.
Yeah.
I would probably look at doing something a bit different, as in like going somewhere around the world.
Yeah.
Do a marathon away. It doesn't have to be in the UK. So you can just book something. Could be the similar time of year. Could be start of the year next year, because you still got time now to, even if it is February or something like that, to train for it. But it's just something different. It's a different way of doing it.
Yeah, you don't have to go to the US to do a marathon, do you, Tobe? Like some people are doing.
No, could go to Tokyo.
Yeah, you could go and walk 26 miles in Tokyo, for example.
But Tokyo, when was that? The ballot's July?
Ballot's gone. Ballot closed last week for Tokyo.
There you go.
But how much is that, Tobe? That's about $8,000, isn't it?
$8,000 well, I don't know. If you spend enough, you get enough Avios points, you'll be right.
Yeah, but it's a long way to go for a walk, isn't it, Tobe?
You also bring back a towel and a little like a robe, don't you? Like a little towel.
Yeah, but most importantly, you bring back one of them world's 6 major stars.
That is true.
Whether
6
walked it
to be 7.
Yeah, soon to be 7. But do you know why I've just been talking? I had a quick Google for the sake of it. And do you know what? Just in April, same time as London, Limassol Marathon. You've got the Ibiza Marathon. You've got Paris Marathon. You've obviously got Brighton. You've got Manchester. There's loads of 3 or 4 in Germany. Hanover Marathon. These are just in April. There's loads of them everywhere. So, and these days, honestly, the cost of flights and everything else out to these places, they've come down so much. So you'll be surprised.
You say that. Hold tight. No, you say that. I was looking the other day at something that I can't yet talk about here, but we will be talking about it. The cost of flights, it was an absolute, what's it take? I was having my rear end carried out just because it was the weekend of a certain major event, right? So I think you've got to be, but what I've done, I've been a bit clever about it, and this is real sneaky. I'm actually going into another city near there, and I'm going to train it in. But, so look, don't necessarily think to yourself, this is going to cost me, 600 quid a night. And it's going to cost me this for 800 quid for a flight. Maybe, I'm talking Europe now. It's different, if you're going to the US or anything like that to do anything. But if you look around, even like, it sounds funny, but it made me not want to do it. But like Rotterdam Marathon, you can drive there.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the sort of thing, you can jump on a ferry and go Paris, you obviously got the train and that lot. But isn't the medal at Paris pretty pony?
They've improved it. So up until last year, it was really bad. But since last year, it was a bit better last year. I actually quite liked it last year when I saw it. But I think next year, isn't there something in conjunction with the Olympics they're doing, which looks amazing in itself? But going back to what you said about the flight, I know what race you're talking about with yourself. Yeah, you're talking about a big race in a big city. I'm talking about what we just put Limassol. Limassol, flights to Limassol in April are not going to be expensive.
Okay.
They say expensive, obviously, in relative terms.
Relative.
Yeah, I'm talking about if you're going to go, if everyone's going to fly out, Chicago, as soon as Chicago comes out, the hotels in the area are absolutely diabolical, the money and the flights and everything else. But when these are small ones, like Amsterdam, give us a breakdown roughly. Tell us how much it cost.
I'll tell you what, that was the best value I've had.
There you go.
Because the flight was something ridiculous, like, I don't know, both ways, 100 quid. Like, it was just stupid. I was on that thing for 35 minutes, still managed to have a panic attack both ways. And I was on it for 35 minutes. We stayed at the airport. Admin got us a blinding deal at the airport. We used we rinsed Toby's Uber account. Brilliant. To get us in and out of the city. It was brilliant. It wasn't overly expensive. Honestly, it was, probably what you'd pay to stay up in London. To get a hotel, so you don't have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get to Greenwich, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we're all looking. We always look at London. Actually, all four of us. We're privileged. Is that the right word? When it comes to London, we all live within proximity. We travel on the morning. A lot of people listen to this, even if they're living in the UK. They've got a big travel down. They're going to come down. They've got the expo and stuff. So maybe Friday and Saturday night in a London hotel, London Marathon weekend. You probably can go Tokyo cheaper.
Yeah, honestly, you'll get robbed. And that's why I go back to my point. They are taking the mickey. So maybe, like as I said to you, look out of town, stay in Nazing in Essex. They've got a good fish and chip shop. You could stay there. Oh no, Toby, you can't because you've got guests, haven't you? Overnight. But you could, there's places to stay in Nazing. There's places to stay in Harlow's very nice. But no, I'm joking. But right, Harlow, I'll make you laugh. Right, Harlow. You can get on the Stansted Express if it's running, but you can jump on the Stansted Express. You can be in London within 30 minutes at Liverpool Street. Right, within 30 minutes to Liverpool Street. You go stay at Harlow, they'll probably give you a room for free because they can't sell them. So, that's the sort of thing. So my point is get creative around the events. You don't have to spend, like Tobe did, £1 million to go to Tokyo. You can get creative and, like as I said, stay outside of town a bit and, just look at options. Don't always just think, this is what it is. But I think you've made some really good points, all of us, about spicing it up, not necessarily, worrying about, I've not got London. I'm now going to have to do $2,500 on charity. Well, no, go and do something different. Loch Ness Marathon, Dublin, October. But put your plans off. If you want to do that marathon, maybe do it, in the autumn, something like that. Mix it up and don't just focus on the London Marathon. It really is not the be all and end all. It's a great run. Don't get me wrong. I love it. And if I can get there next year, even though I said it's my last, the reason I said it's my last is because I'm not going to take a charity place again. Because I've done the fundraising thing, every time I've run London, I've had to raise money. So I'm not going to do that again. But that said, if there's an opportunity for me to run it, I'd bite your hand off. You know what I mean? If you said to me, FORDY, look, it's going to cost you 250 quid. I'll go out and find that 250 quid. Do you know what I mean? To do it or whatever. I think it's just the best race, marathon I've ever done. It's just phenomenal. I mean,
100%, like hands down, my favourite one.
Really?
Yeah. I think London being my first one, I don't know, it just holds something there for me. I've done Manchester and Boston. We're not even going to include Boston in this because just for the actual.
You have to include Boston. Of course you do.
Hayden, as you know, we spent a lot of time together over in Boston. It wasn't my favourite for many reasons. We weren't very lucky with the certain conditions. But I do feel like we also do need to bring this back to obviously the certain people, like the very lucky few that are going to get a spot. Because I guarantee that when we have this show next week, there's going to be people that have said, can you believe what I've got in? So as much as we've given you so much topics here on what you can do if you don't get a ballot, if you don't get in, there's also the case of obviously when you do get in. So I know obviously, Hayden, you touched on some really key points on what you can go out and do. Like me personally, I think was going to touch on is also just sort of this early on, which I know we've been sort of discussing why it's so good for it to be now, but also just educate yourself. Like there's going to be so many people that have thrown themselves in then and now early that have not got a clue what they've signed up for, but they're dying to give it their best shot. And you're obviously listening to this for a reason, because you want to know more. So educate yourself, whether you have never run it before or you have run it before and you're looking for a new goal. Spend this time to sort of educate yourself. You've got so much time. Reach out to friends or family members or people in the running community that you bump into at Parkrun, and just ask them their honest opinions, because there's quite a few people that might be like, they might not have done London, but they might have done other marathons that can give you some sort of tips and tricks. But spend the time sort of understanding what other people have thought about the course and what goes on, or what their training plans look like. Send emails into us as well, like drop messages, and just sort of educate yourself in those early stages so you know what to go into. Because someone could say to you, oh, go and start doing a long run on a Sunday and go and do sort of a 10 miler. And you think, well, I haven't even touched a 10 miler. Like that means nothing to you, but it means a lot to them because that might have been their first run. So do your rounds, work out what people have done before, what they haven't done, what suits you. So even if you don't choose to go full in on a plan straight away, you know what you want when you're talking to your coach or when you're reaching out to people. Do your research. There's so much out there. I pestered so many people because I was petrified. Oh, what should I be running? What could I do? How do I know what I'm doing? Didn't have a clue. So use that time to just get yourself used to it, not being nervous. So when you do get ready to get into that, you're ready to hit the ground running and it doesn't feel so daunting. 100%.
Yeah, I think you picked up on something really big there as well. This idea of, at the moment, you are someone that's gone in for the London Marathon, that maybe does park runs, but running isn't a big part of your life. And as I said earlier, it will become a big part of your life now. So yeah, definitely reach out to other people and become involved in the running scene. I'm not sure if you, Toby and Chris, will pick me up on this. Am I right in saying that admin really only got involved with 40 runs and stuff because you got a place at the marathon? Have I made that up? And now look.
No, you're right. You are right.
Look what she's involved in now and what she does, and it's become a huge part of her life just because she got that marathon spot. So definitely
look for 6 majors.
Yeah, look for that support.
She's too busy doing interviews with Colin Jackson and running in Vegas.
There you go. She's gone from someone who just got a marathon place to a couple of years later, she's interviewing Colin Jackson. This is something that it will become part of your life. And the more you embrace it and the more you get involved in it and talk to people, and obviously we're not here just to promote it, but places like the 40 Runs running community, the Facebook page and things like that, people talking about this exact thing day after day after day and asking people, how did you feel when you've done this? Where do you do it? Oh, by the way, I live near you. I live down that village. We should meet up and go for a run. Just these sort of things. They're not just made up. These things happen every day. I think the more you submerge yourself in this, the better the experience you're going to have.
I think that's true. I think there's one thing, because you were saying like going out and experiencing and experimenting with yourself. But I think then the one thing, especially if you're newer to running, is make sure you're ready to start your training block. So don't overdo it beforehand, because if you're tired, then going into your training block, that's just going to hinder you the whole way through.
Yeah, you don't want to overtrain before you go into that training plan sort of thing. You want to sometimes you want to go in fresh, right? So for example, Hayden going off 2 weeks Mexico. What? No, it's true. I mean, look. Nice. So just an example, Hayden. So you're going away 2 weeks, right? You're not going to do anything, correct? Or you're going to maybe run once or twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
So last year when Hayden done exactly the same thing, this is how he came back. So this is Hayden after a couple of weeks, right, in Mexico last year, right? So just put up a picture.
What is that?
He'll come back, similar sort of thing. What? He'll come back, similar sort of shape, right? Just make sure Lou sees this again, so she sees what's coming back from Mexico. Come back in that sort of shape. But he's going to get. He's going to what?
this bloke, I don't know what he tells everyone about how he has to work full time and he has a tough. He just spends all day mucking about with pictures.
Sorry, button stuck. So anyway, Hayden's going to take 2 weeks off in Mexico, and he's going to come back and he's going to need to get in shape, right? 'Cause that's how he came back last year, right? So, but it is a really good point, as don't overtrain before you train. Yeah. So, but you do want to get yourself at the same time in good condition. I think that's the best. That's probably the best phrase to use is condition. This man here doesn't look in good
give
condition,
it a rest.
right? But
you can see the neckline where you've taken the head off. It's a rubbish picture.
well, I don't know what you're talking about. But the point is you need to be conditioned. Now, whether that's because you're hitting the pool, you're doing your gym, like Jatila was saying last week in the show, stretching and doing all these sort of things, you want to make sure you're in good condition, in which whether you've got the marathon place through the ballot or you've gone and got a place at the Limassol half, whatever it is, just give yourself that time to get the condition ready in which you, and that foundation in which you can then prepare for whatever's coming your way and whatever's. But honestly, the last bit of advice, because we're going to go now, because as I say, we've got things to concentrate on, Hayden. Actually, I won't put it up again. But we've got, you I can't stop laughing about it. But you've got to stop thinking, please, that you're going to get a place in the London Marathon, because you're going to listen to this on Friday, so it'll be the following week. So you're not going to get one. All right. Just think to yourself, you're not going to get one. If you get one, it's great. It's like when the lottery's drawn. Do you honestly sit there and think you're going to get that? You're not, right? So don't even think about it. If you get an email that says you have, brilliant. But just have a plan in which what you're going to do when you don't get a place. Because honestly, just sitting there thinking you're going to get a place, it ain't going to happen. If you're one of the lucky few, you're a hero. You're a legend. You're just like this man. But if you're not, don't worry about it. It really doesn't matter. Okay, it's the London Marathon. Just do something else.
I'll just give one last bit of advice for people that do get in as well. That I just thought of as well. I think Toby touched upon it as well. Is if you're someone, this is going to be your first time for a marathon, or you don't do many races as well, I would say get yourself from now till then into a few races. Don't have to be the big expensive ones, just ones where there's quite a few people at a start line, and get yourself used to that environment of a race. Because if you've never ever done one, or get yourself down to Bushy Park Run on a Saturday, it's only a park run, but you've got 1,000 people around you, and you get to know what that feeling's like to be around others. Some people thrive on it, absolutely thrive on it. Others, it becomes a panicky thing. Get yourself used to that. So when it comes to London Marathon, if it's your first time and all these people around you, it's just like another race.
Good shout. And I think that's a good way to end this special pre-record, because I'm at the Guns N' Roses concert. Hayden's in Mexico, upside down, coming back looking like this. Jatila's out doing speed work, and Tobe, I'm guessing, is eating somewhere. So I'll just hand over to Jatila to take us out, really, because I don't really see how we can come back.
I mean, as long as you don't put that. Anyway, guys, it has been a pleasure. Now, if you are listening to this on live and you want to listen to it back next week, you can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, listen online, reach out to us, let us know if you do get that magic ballot place as we go into the episode next week actually it'll be the week after. So best of luck, enjoy your weekends, and we'll see you soon.